up, everybody? Jimmy and Frank are back. Frank, are you tired yet?
Oh my God! It's like going back and forth.
Well, we're going to keep going back and forth in this segment.
We're having a slobber knocker.
We're going to keep going back and forth on this one, and you need to let me go for a second on this, all right? I'm going to give a few examples, and then when I'm done, you tell me if I'm mistaken. Every single face of the WWE, from Bob Backlund all the way up to where we are now, up until John Cena, they left the company, and the WWE was forced to pick someone that they felt they could trust. When Bob Backlund left, they put the reins on Hulk Hogan, and Hulk Hogan took it as far as he can go. It wasn't because he was more popular than Bob Backlund at the time. It was because they knew that Hulk could carry the reins, and then he surpassed Bob Backlund. Now, we get to Bret the Hitman Hart, who was the next face of the company after Hogan left. Hulk Hogan did not get pushed aside because Bret Hart, quote, stepped up. Bret Hart was given the reins because he was the best person for the job with Hulk Hogan gone. Now, after Bret Hart was screwed, the title was put on Shawn Michaels, who then it was given to Stone Cold Steve Austin because he was the most popular guy in the company. Now, Steve Austin did not lose his spot to The Rock because The Rock surpassed him. Stone Cold had to go for neck surgery, so The Rock took over while Austin was out. Now, continuing it even further. In 2002, nobody surpassed Stone Cold Steve Austin. He walked out on the company. And then a year later, he had his last match. John Cena's on top, unfortunately. And you mentioned to me about how certain guys haven't stepped up. Now, I need for you to also understand something else, and I need you to actually embrace this. I'm going to quote one of my favorite wrestlers. There is a glass ceiling, and no one's allowed to surpass it. It is not the wrestler's fault. It is the fault of those who are in charge at this point in time. Because unlike all those other eras that I named, and all those other faces of the company that I named, we are now living in an era where WWE is the only game in town. They decide what goes on. They decide who they want. That's that. No one, in your view, whatever that is, has stepped up. Plenty of guys have stepped up. The WWE's made the decision to not go with them that far. There is not another guy on the active roster or the injured roster who is on John Cena's level as far as being a top hand. Because John Cena's been built up as the guy with no breaks. And that's why the fans have soured on him. So, you're expecting the wrestlers to step up and take his spot, when at the same time, anytime any of them gets too hot, they get cooled down. Because that's not what the company wants. They want him. So, when you talk about the wrestlers not stepping up and not being able to take his spot, it's not because of their lack of ability. It's because that's what the company wants. They want things to be a certain way. They want him. So, how can you expect the wrestlers, the guys who are 10 times better than him, to step up when that spot's not even available for them to even approach? Because management wants John Cena. Now, also, he doesn't have the foresight for himself and for the company to recognize that his time, as his theme song goes, his time is up. The guy's time has been up. So, at some point it comes down to preposterosity. Because, what's the guy going to do? He's going to be the top guy in the company for the next 10 years?
He hasn't been the top guy for the last 5 years.
Excuse me?
He hasn't been the top guy in the last 3 years.
Frank, you're starting to scare me now.
No, it's 2011. Who was the top guy?
Excuse me?
Who was the top guy in 2011?
2011, the top guy was John Cena.
2012.
2012, he closed most of the pay-per-views.
What about CM Punk?
CM Punk was the WWE champion in the mid-card, in case you forgot.
Okay, but he was still the champ.
Being the champion don't mean shit anymore. It's who closes the shows.
So then, why do you care if Cena wins the belt 16 times?
Because it will. The reason that I care if he wins the belt again is because he should not be on the same level as Ric Flair.
Let's go. All right, let's just go back. So CM Punk holds the belt for a year.
434 days.
That's a year and 3 months. Okay, so his reign is over. Cena wins. Who's the next guy to step up?
The next guy that got the belt after that was Daniel Bryan.
Right.
For 2 seconds.
Yeah, and then they used almost the whole year as him as the focal point of his journey back.
Well, once they signed on Batista, they completely forgot about Daniel Bryan until the fans gave them no choice. We agreed on that, if I recall.
You see, he stepped up. Daniel Bryan stepped up. Whatever he did, it worked. It forced their hand. That's what I'm talking about. People have to step up where it forces their hand. And don't think that Daniel Bryan wasn't backed by WWE with the Yes movement and all that.
I think they started backing him after the Rumble. Personally.
I agree. But
personally, because once they signed on Batista, once they signed on Batista, they made up their mind they wanted Batista to win the belt because they wanted to capitalize on Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right, and what happened?
The fans gave them no choice. But you have to understand something.
Right, because why? Because the fans.
But you have to understand. But you have to understand something. Not everyone's going to be able to do that.
I know. That's why they're not going to put the next top guy on somebody who's hot for a month. If people have to think, no matter what they did to Daniel Bryan.
But what did they do with Daniel Bryan that got him so hot? What did they do with him? Why did he get so hot?
What they didn't do. The fans supported him. The fans got behind him, just like the fans.
No, but where did the fan support come from? Where did it start, Frank? Use your head. You're a very intelligent man.
Listen, it just happens. It's just magic. It happens. Nobody knows how it happens. It just happens.
Why did the fans gravitate? Why did the fans gravitate towards CM Punk?
Because the moment happened, the pipe bomb moment, and leading up to that, people started.
All right, I'm going to ask you 2 questions in a row, and just give me the straight answer with no sermon afterwards. Who did CM Punk beat? Clean. Who did he beat?
Cena.
Okay. Who did Daniel Bryan beat? Clean.
Cena.
There you go. That's how you get more guys over. You have them beat him.
Right. So what did that tell you? Cena did the job. And how many times?
But the point I'm trying to make is, those are the only 2 guys, other than The Rock, that have beaten this motherfucker.
Why? Because we again, go back to what we just said. People got behind them. People undoubtedly started supporting them for months and months and months and months. When the whole arena started...
CM Punk was not nearly as hot until he beat John Cena.
Who?
CM Punk. The pipe bomb happened in a feud where he was booked to beat John Cena. Daniel Bryan, the same...
That storyline was he was leaving, he was going to leave, and John Cena was going to have his last match with Cena and in his hometown, and he was going to leave with the belt. And he won.
But CM Punk's popularity exploded afterwards off of that victory because the fans had something to celebrate about. Same thing with Daniel Bryan. If Daniel Bryan did not beat John Cena at SummerSlam, I don't think it would have worked. Because
James, you're answering your own question. John Cena right now is the measuring stick.
You're not understanding. You're hearing it from a different perspective. What I'm saying is that the key to success for the young guys is to beat him. That's what I'm saying.
That's why it might look like Cena versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania.
Oh, God, Frank, you're not getting it. You're not getting it.
Well, I know. You're saying that in order for somebody to really go over there...
They have to beat someone credible, and who's more credible than John Cena?
I don't know. Who is? You tell me.
Nobody.
Right.
So the point I'm trying to make is, if you want these guys to step up, the only way you do it, you have to build the future on the bones of the past. You want to. You talk about all these guys that haven't stepped up. He hasn't put over any of them.
What? He put over CM Punk.
Punk's gone. Bryan's on the injury list.
Whose fault is that? John Cena's fault?
I don't see him stepping up saying, "Hey Vince, I really shouldn't be winning this match."
Who's gonna? Dude, who right now is? Who would you be comfortable with? Let's say Brock Lesnar wasn't the champion. Who should be? Who should carry the belt? Not John Cena, not Brock Lesnar. Who should carry the belt?
Right now, I would have had Seth Rollins cash in.
Yeah, do you really think Seth Rollins is? I think he's a great wrestler. Has great matches.
He's easy to hate. He's easy to hate because he's that little fart in the ring that you just want to see someone snatch this little bastard. I like Tyler Black. I like Tyler Black, and I want to see.
He has it in him, but I don't know if he has the
I like Tyler Black, but I want to see someone kick his ass.
Right, I understand, but I mean, you want him. He's going to be the heavyweight champion. He's going to be the face of the company.
What? Not the face of the. Oh God. They're two different things. You're asking me two different things. Who's the face of the company and who's the champion? Because they're never the same, unless John Cena's got the belt. And that's the problem. That's the problem, Frank. And you're not.
And he's going to keep being the face of the company until somebody steps up, until somebody just has it.
He has to have the business sense to step aside. Because no one's going to be able to push him aside, Frank. I hate to tell you. No one's going to be able to push him.
They will push him aside. It will come one day. It's just
not going to happen, Frank. The guy's too protected. What don't you get? No one was able to push Hogan aside. He had to leave in order for someone else to have his spot. Same thing with Steve Austin. No one could push Steve Austin aside. When he left, that's when someone else took it. He has to leave. In order for someone to have his spot, he's either going to have to get a career-ending injury, or he's got to have enough mindset, a smart enough mindset to say, "Hey, listen, my time in the sun is over," and he doesn't have that.
Let me ask a question: Has he slowed down in the ring?
Excuse me?
Has he slowed down physically in the ring?
To me, he was never good in the ring. So you're asking the wrong guy. You should ask someone.
He always has decent matches, doesn't he?
Excuse me?
Doesn't he always have decent matches?
He only has good matches with good wrestlers, if you notice.
Okay, but I'm saying
but that's mostly the other guy that's carrying him, because he can't bring it in the ring on his own. You'll never see John.
He matches up against anybody.
That's the skill of the guy he's working with, making him look good, Frank.
No, I know, I understand that. I understand, but it takes two to tango, man.
Not in that business. Not in that business.
We talked about before, Bray Wyatt versus Chris Jericho.
But not in that business. You're going to tell me Lex Luger's a great wrestler? He isn't. But
no, he's terrible.
But Ric Flair made the matches look great, now didn't he?
Yeah,
but that's the point. You don't need two guys to tango.
But could Lex Luger have a great match against another person?
No, he couldn't.
No, he had a couple of decent matches early in his career, but then
all right, you're talking about a squirrel finding a nut every once in a while, Frank. I'm talking about a guy that is on top. There's no sign of him not being on top, and the guy on his own cannot bring it in the ring. I can name for you the top 5 John Cena matches I've ever seen, and they're all with guys who were better than him. His WrestleMania match with Shawn Michaels, the Hour Broadway with Shawn Michaels, the SummerSlam match with Daniel Bryan, Money in the Bank with CM Punk, and the match he had with CM Punk on Raw with the Pile Driver. And he wasn't responsible for those matches being good matches in the ring. Emotionally, he was responsible for a lot of those matches because everyone expected him to win and didn't want it.
He pulls off the chemistry. It's even if he's not as good.
I think you give him way too much credit, Frank. To be quite honest, I think you give him way too much credit because the guy ain't that good.
He could go up against Lesnar. He could go up against Bryan, and he has the chemistry. Whatever his style.
He's had one pay-per-view match with Daniel Bryan. I can't really say that they have chemistry because I haven't seen them wrestle each other that many times. Punk he has chemistry with. You're always going to have chemistry with one guy. There's going to be at least one or two guys you have chemistry with. Punk he has chemistry with. Orton, he doesn't. But I'll tell you who Orton does have chemistry with, that he has great matches with, Christian.
Yeah.
You've seen their matches. They're fucking
All
awesome.
I'm trying to say is, Cena's, whatever Cena does, however great he is, however horrible he is, he has versatility. And he's not as bad as a wrestler as he comes off. Because he holds back a lot of moves. They only keep his moveset limited. When the guy wants to do something, it's just like Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan was the same thing. Come on, people were screaming Hulk Hogan was a horror show in the ring. He couldn't wrestle.
They haven't seen his match with the Great Muta.
Exactly. But when Hogan wants to...
You can't compare the immortal Hulk Hogan to John Cena. You can't compare the two.
People used to scream their heads off at Hulk Hogan. People used to laugh at Hulk Hogan, saying like people like you would say he's a horrible wrestler. The guy has no wrestling moves. A leg drop, but the leg drop was the worst finishing move in the history of...
Oh, I think that the leg drop... First of all, I don't think the leg drop fit him because they used to call him the guy with the largest arms in the world. You would think he would have used his arms as a finish.
How many times does he have to Hulk up to have the same match? It was the same match.
But there's a big... But you want to know something, Frank? A lot of people compare Hogan to Cena. There is a... And I said this to my sister's boyfriend tonight. The biggest difference between Hulk Hogan and John Cena is this. When Hulk Hogan understood that his character was stale and that the fans weren't buying it, what did he do? He reinvented himself and became, in my estimation, as a wrestler, the greatest bad guy I ever saw. Because to me, the greatest villain, for me, is Mr. McMahon. Because who's more...
I understand.
But as far as a guy that was competitive in the ring on a daily basis, who was a better villain than Hollywood Hulk Hogan?
James, but Hulk Hogan had Kevin Nash and Scott Hall come into WCW.
But it was But it was Hogan's betrayal of Randy's...
It worked out well, but what if Kevin Nash and Scott Hall never signed with WCW? What would happen?
Well, Hogan said many times that if Vince McMahon was ever able to get Sting into the WWE, Hogan would have had no problem turning heel for a feud with Sting. He said it many times. I don't think that he needed Scott Hall and Kevin Nash to be a bad guy, because Hogan proved...
The NWO worked out. That was it. I don't know if it would have had the same effect that Hogan just turned bad. Just on his own.
The only reason that you say that is because you've never seen it, but Hogan to me proved he could. He could do it. He could do it.
You don't think Cena could do it?
I think Cena has it in him, and it pisses me off that they don't let him. I think he has it in him, because you want to know what, Frank? It's very easy for him to turn heel. You know, I've given my life to you imbeciles ever since I started, and you've done nothing but boo me. Screw you. It is not realistic, Frank. It is not realistic. And this is a problem that a lot of fans like myself have with him. It ain't realistic for a guy to get booed out of every single building 90% of the time and just grin at the crowd. I'll give you an example.
It's irritating.
I'll give you an example. Look, you ever watch The Rock's? You ever watch The Rock's DVD? The Journey of Dwayne Johnson?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You should skip to the part where he becomes Rocky Maivia, and the crowd's booing. The crowd's booing him, and Pat Patterson says, "No, you got to pretend that you're happy to be there. You have to smile at them." What is The Rock's response? 2 words. What is his response?
Tell me.
That's bullshit.
No, yes, James, you're right.
So then, what the hell? What in the hell? Because they don't have competition, they can tell the audience to go fuck themselves? Come on.
Somebody's buying his t-shirt.
Frank, you're going to compare wrestling fans to 5-year-olds who have no standards. What are you going to do when those kids...
Who do you think was buying Hulk Hogan t-shirts? Who do you think was buying Hulkamania t-shirts?
When Hulkamania was running wild, men, women, and children loved Hulk Hogan. Grown adults were crying when he was down and out. You don't see any grown adults crying for John Cena. They're cheering when he's getting his...
John Cena's fan base is young.
I'll give you another example, Frank. SummerSlam. SummerSlam from this year. The crowd cheered Ivan Drago as he pounded Rocky into the ground, and they wanted nothing to do with him other than his head. They cheered the guy that ended the streak. I know.
That
is not supposed to happen. If that was Daniel Bryan in there getting his ass whipped by Brock Lesnar, you think the crowd would have been cheering?
No.
So then that's what I'm saying, Frank. When you're the hero, you're supposed to be loved. And when they're booing you, you're supposed to be a heel. Stop insulting.
We've talked hours and hours and hours about this. He's a unique character. Either he gets booed when he's not supposed to, or he gets a 50-50 split. You have to after crowd chant, let's go Cena, and after crowd chant, Cena sucks.
You might as well make them all chant Cena sucks, because you're not going to win those other people over.
Until that happens, until you stop hearing "Let's go Cena," they're not going to pull the trigger until he stops.
But that's never going to happen, Frank, because those kids don't know any better. They don't know any better. Those kids boo all the villains. If they turned him heel, everyone would be booing him, and he'd be giving the fans what they want from him.
James, those little kids are going to grow up. They're going to grow up soon.
That's what I'm saying, though. What is he going to do when these kids grow up? Is he going to continue to insult their intelligence?
No, James, they'll pull the trigger on it. Even if it's for a couple of months or 6 months.
Frank, not for nothing. Not very many people can do the same gimmick for years and not get booed. Okay, I'll go back to my hero, The Undertaker. He's essentially doing the same gimmick he was in 1990, right?
But he changed it to that time.
But the point is, he's still essentially the same character.
Right, but he changed it to that time. He had the American
But the point I'm trying to make is The Undertaker, during his career, had many changes. The guy essentially the more things change, the more they stay the same. He said that once. He kept his persona, but he changed things here and there so he would never grow stale. Why hasn't John Cena does that? Because he feels he doesn't have to?
I don't know, James. You heard him. He says he has a boss. That's.
Well, then it tells me that his boss has seriously lost sight on what the business is all about. Because
I agree with you, James. I don't like seeing Cena's stupid fucking shirts, his hat, his armband.
And you want to know the truth? You want to know the key? You want to know the key to his merchandising, Frank?
Yeah,
I figured it out. What?
He has a lot of merchandise.
He has more merchandise than 5-6 wrestlers combined. I would hope that he's the highest selling merchandise guy, because if he wasn't, I would say that's pretty fucking poor. Because when you've got 5 Cena shirts for every one shirt for every other wrestler, it's not a level playing field on who's selling out who in the most. It's like, okay, let's say we walk into, you and I, we're going shopping because we just bought an apartment together because we're two good friends and we're moving in together, right, Frank? Let's say we're doing that, and we're going to put all my memorabilia on our walls so everyone knows that we're nerdy wrestling fans. Let's say we go into the store, and we go in, and there's 7 different versions of Kraft macaroni and cheese, and one section with one version of Pringles. I'm going to think that the Kraft macaroni and cheese is the number one selling thing in that store.
Right, I understand.
So you cannot say that John Cena outsells everyone in merchandise because there ain't no one who's on equal footing with him. So therefore, common sense comes into play. And I know a lot of guys don't like to use common sense because most of them don't have it. They only have it with things that are important to them, which to me, if what's going on in wrestling isn't important to you, then you shouldn't be a fan. Because wrestling's, for me, I'm a Mets fan. What goes on with that team is important for me. I'm an Islanders fan. What goes on with that team is important. I am a wrestling fan. So what goes on with the business is important. John Cena's merchandising is business manipulation at its best. Randy Orton has 22 items on his merchandising. Roman Reigns has about maybe 6 or 7. Who else is the Wyatts? 3 or 4 or 5 at best. John Cena's got more than all those guys combined. So how the hell could anyone say that he's the highest selling merchandise guy when it's clear as crystal that no one even has even close to the amount of merchandise that he has? The only one that's closest to him is Daniel Bryan, and that was a distant second. And, for the record, and I'm taking my glasses off while I say this, and I'm looking right into the camera, I love Daniel Bryan. He's my favorite wrestler today. I wouldn't be caught wearing more than half of the shit they have for him on Shop Zone.
The flying goat, whatever.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ. The shirts I have of him, yes, yes, yes. No, no, no. I have the black one that he had that does have a goat on it. I bought it. Well, I didn't buy that. That was a gift. And the other shirts I have of him, the beard is here. I have that. And the one that looks like, what's his name, that they compare it to, the thing that says Yes Movement on it. I have that.
Hugo Chavez?
Yeah, it looks like Hugo Chavez. I have that shirt. I ain't got any of his other shit. You wouldn't catch me dead wearing that fucking hat with the beard hanging off the brim. Are you shitting me?
I've never seen anybody wear a John Cena shirt. But somebody's buying them.
The point I'm trying to make is, Frank, it may look that way, but that's because the guy's got so many different fucking options. You know, let's say we're walking in, let's say that we're going into a store and it's got cat food and dog food. If I go in there with 12 cats and one dog, the one dog's gonna want the dog food. But when you got all these cats, mommy, Cena shirt, wah, now it's in yellow, now it's in red, wah. That's the thing. It's all fucking built for kids. Because how many of us adults would be caught dead wearing a "you can't see me" shirt? Get the fuck out of here. Come on, now my Italian Brooklyn shit's starting to seep in.
Listen, we're beating it to death until someone steps up that overthrows him, and they can't do anything about it. Like I said, I don't think he's actually the number one focus. I think he's always the reliable backup.
Well, I'll tell you what, Frank. I can guarantee you. You want to know a spoiler for Survivor Series? Guess who's getting the final pinfall for the Survivor Series elimination match? Take a guess. Come on, I know you can do it. Absolutely. Cena's.
I think the authority's going to hold that.
I don't think so because Stephanie McMahon is apparently pregnant, and they're going to take time.
Oh, yeah, okay, so that's the storyline.
So they're going to take time off. They're probably going to take time off. Stephanie and Triple H probably, maybe more so Stephanie than Triple H, but that's what I keep hearing. But
yeah. Well, we'll see what happens.
Well, listen. According to my grandfather's watch that I'm holding in my hand right now, if you're telling me we got to wait for someone to step up, then I guess I'll see you at John Cena's retirement party because that's the only time anyone's going to be allowed to be in his spot until he decides he's done. And I think
I hope guys like Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose keep having these great matches. Is it any coincidence that they're always involved in the best match of the card?
All three members of the Shield to me are gold.
I'm saying, is it always a coincidence that every time they have a match on pay-per-view, the crowd chants, "This is awesome, this is awesome"?
Because they're the best in the business. Daniel, listen, the Elite Five for me in the WWE of the current roster: Daniel Bryan, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, and Dolph Ziggler. They always have the best matches on every card that they're on. They are exquisite talents, and all they need is to be promoted that they are the best wrestlers on the planet. If that is done, Frank, those guys, all five of them, can be major league stars on Cena's level. But that's never.
They'll need to work on their mic skills.
But that's never going to. Is Cena known as the best promo guy? Let's be honest.
But he can talk.
When he has to sell a big match, he can. I will give him that. But we don't see that much. What we get most of the time is funny John Cena. You know, the corny promos and all that bullshit.
I understand. And when he wants to get serious, he gets serious.
That's what I'm saying. When the guy has to cut a big promo, he does. But most of the time he doesn't, Frank. 9 times out of 10, he laughs off the losses he does get. He laughs off losing the belt. It doesn't mean anything to him. I mean, when Stone Cold Steve Austin used to lose the belt, he would be furious. When
I know.
You know, where's the fire? Randy Orton punches John Cena's father in the face and he starts the match with a collar and elbow tie-up. Are you kidding me? Come on, man. No one could ever.
To death.
They've beaten the guy's character to death, and you're going to hear me make a statement I know you'll never thought you'd ever hear me say. They didn't protect John Cena properly.
Yeah.
You want to know why they didn't protect him properly? They threw him to the wolves, which is us, the wrestling fans. They didn't protect him so that people wouldn't get sick of him. And I think that's a shame, because I do believe he loves the business. But the fans have gotten tired of him. The fans have spoken. You said it, that last year's Royal Rumble was the next generation letting them know enough for the fans to chant, "We want divas" in a WWE Championship match. What the fuck you think that means, Frank?
No, I know. Listen, man, but we got Daniel Bryan, and Daniel Bryan got hurt. What can you do?
The guy had only one injury in a 15-year career. I'd say he's doing just fine.
Oh, Daniel Bryan?
Daniel Bryan's only had one injury in his 15-year career.
He got it at the worst time.
What can I say? The guy's had a bad string of luck since he won the belt. His father, he got married, which was great. God bless him. And then his father passed away, and then Kane hurt his neck.
Listen, James, these are things that are beyond anybody's control.
So it's not his fault.
It's not anybody's fault.
No, but that's the point I'm trying to make.
That's why I keep telling you, John Cena is the reliable backup.
Well, they need to start having a fresh rotation of guys, so that way we don't have to have the same thing regurgitated. Because
During Daniel Bryan's run, John Cena wasn't really main eventing Raw. He was.
Nor should he have been, because the focus, because the focus should always be the champion.
I think I really wanted to see if Daniel Bryan didn't get hurt, because that would have continued.
Oh, absolutely, it would have. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this segment. Frank and I will be right back.